Permission granted. Kickass strategies to bootstrap your way to unconditional self-love. What is that about? Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to steal a page from Publishers Weekly's review and say that it is an impressive collection of tenets intended to give the reader a ride, if you will, into the realm of what's possible for themselves should anyone want to delve into personal growth work. That's what it is for me. That's what it was intended to do. Be a round trip, first class journey to the self.
Are you ready to get growing with Cathy Holloway Hill, psychologist, author, talk show host?
And it might not be the right thing to do.
Exactly.
That should be an upgrade where you learn to communicate.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
As much as I've proved, I still have that urge to prove again.
If you want to talk about the love of Jesus, I'm all open for the conversation.
There is more that unites us.
Dr. Maya Angelou, how are you doing today?
My name is Cathy Holloway. I'm doing very well.
If you're overthinking, overreacting, over-scrutinizing, or overanalyzing, then train your mind to gain renewed optimistic wisdom. Grow with Cathy Holloway Hill.
Good evening, everyone. I am Cathy Holloway Hill, and I am so excited to spend this time with you today. I have a magnificent guest who I absolutely adore and think the world of, because not only is she living by design, but she is also growing into the magnificent individual she is becoming and has become. I'm going to say both of those because Miss Regina Louise is joining us today. And I met Regina a few years ago when her autobiography first premiered on the Lifetime channel. And it was I Am Somebody's Child, the Regina Louise story. And she's rejoining us today after years of incredible work. And I'm going to say, welcome back to the show, Miss Regina Louise. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, Cathy. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I tell you, young lady, the first time that I met you on the first interview, you touched my heart, you touched my spirit, you touched my mind, you touched my emotions. And you did that for a lot of people with that show. And I appreciate you because you are so transparent and you're so loving. You're just full of love, full of love. And I appreciate that about you.
Well, as they say, you spot it, you got it. So Cathy, right back at you. You wouldn't know I was full of love unless, of course, you know what that is. And you have to have it in order to be able to see it. So thank you for seeing me and being a mirror. And I appreciate you.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. You are a busy young lady, and I know you have written several books, but today we are going to talk about permission granted.
Yeah.
Kick-ass strategies to bootstrap your way to unconditional self-love. I mean, the title just says it all.
Yeah. That's how I got myself from where I was to where I am. This idea of white people don't ask anybody for permission, albeit Albert Einstein, Elon Musk, right? Bill Gates. I could go on and on and on. White folks, especially white men, they don't ask anybody's permission to be all of who they are. It's expected. But as a Black identifying woman, I recognize, and especially as a woman, even if I take the classifiers as Black, the identifiers off, as a woman, women that I know, women that I work with, women that I coach, I've rarely, if ever, met a woman who is encouraged to be a commander in chief. Most women I know don't even know that, they don't know the idea of permission. And so, which is why I work with them. So I recognized early on that I never asked permission, not so unlike white men. I took it, I created it, I became a channel for it. And the reason why I am on this call with you today is because by the grace of God, I was able to listen to my deepest self, to the slightest nudges, to my intuition, right? God speaking to me, spirit communicating with me. And that's where I've pretty much always taken my permission, is from the nuances, from the inner spiritual emotional machinations of my makeup.
That's powerful, Regina. And I say that because there's not many people that really get it, like you just explained it, that so many people live in the fleshly body that houses their spirit, and they're governed by the ego. And I absolutely agree with you wholeheartedly when you said white men don't ask for permission, because that ego is so big and it's so strong and it's so out there, and permission pretty much has already been given to them their entire lives. They see it, they feel it, they live it, so they don't have any problem with it. There are so many people who aren't the Elon Musks of the world, or they're not the Bill Gates, and they're not the Jeff Bezos, and they're not the billionaire club. They're not.
Or let's talk about the fodder upon which a lot of, at least when I was in school, the American history is written. No one gave Christopher Columbus permission to do the things he did, to do the things he allegedly did, to do the things he did, to snatch the souls in the way that he did. He did what he wanted to do. And again, the expectation is that carpe diem, seize the day, it's yours for the asking. And then the rest of us have been led to believe that all we get are the leftovers or the crumbs, if we're lucky to get that. I've never looked at my life situation that way. I always looked at it as, I have a right. I have a right to all the bounty. I have a right to all of it. And what I may not have is a ladder of opportunities that scale from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So if I don't have those people, what now? So I need to continually invent reasons to give myself permission to go the next mile, then the next mile, and the next mile, and not care what this one says or what that one thinks, that to allow people and their own limiting beliefs to limit their belief. That has nothing to do with me. So even without knowing it, I was able to institute boundaries in certain domains of my life where I was clear, this is where I end and the world begins. And if I think back to the day that I listened wholeheartedly to my spirit and gave myself permission to step into my permission at 11 years old to break the chain of domestic violence and child abuse and neglect that had plagued my entire family. So that day that I made a pact with God, my higher power, my higher self, spirit, whatever you want to call it, that day I made that pact, I committed to being the permission, right? To be the permission I need. So whether I fail or succeed, I will be the permission, the one permissioning. It's like right now my brain says, you know how you commission an artist, you commission an architect, a contractor, a designer. Well, I commission my own permission.
Amen. Amen. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Regina Louise, let me just tell you, if you can find her autobiography, if you have streaming services, get it from Lifetime. I Am Somebody's Child, the Regina Louise story. You would not believe what this young lady's life was like. 99, I would say 99.9% of people would have either given up or ended up dead, suicidal, or on drugs, or in jail, or God only knows. But this young lady rose above all of that. And she is an accomplished speaker and author and helping others with what she went through so that they can get their lives together. And it's incredible. So as far as, let me just ask you this question, Regina, because I know the first part of the title of your book is Permission Granted. Mm-hmm. The first time I interviewed you, there were a lot of questions, but one stood out to me on that interview link on YouTube. One stood out to me, and one young lady asked, how do you give yourself permission? So share that with us.
How do you give yourself? You mean, how do I give myself permission?
Exactly. Yeah, how do you give yourself permission, which will help her understand how she can do the same?
So when I work with people, so let me slow down for a minute. First of all, I just want to add to what you said. Mm-hmm. People can get my movie on Amazon Prime. Okay.
Oh, good. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And secondly, when I work as an emotional wealth coach, that's the niche that I believe speaks to me, to that place where spirit meets bone, right? And when I think about who I am, the impact I believe my spirit is making, and the impact I want to continue to make as a healing presence in the world, I have to go to that place, Cathy, where spirit meets bone, and it leaves me in the prayer mudra. And I, from this place, can say, when I'm working with people and they may not, out of their own innocence, out of their own sense of what they live through, they may not understand what power is. People say all the time, oh, step into your power. Oh, you need to take your power back. Hold on a minute. A lot of that is just, it's like pop psychology regurgitation. Do you really understand what you're saying to someone when you intimate that they should take their power back? When you intimate that they should step into their power? More than likely, you've done none of the above. And those are projections, because for someone to understand what that means, they have to first understand what power is. Mm-hmm. And they get to then understand, now, what is this thing called power that people so readily toss out as a bone for somebody suffering to chew on? If we understand what power is, we understand what permission is, because they're the same thing. In my book.
So let me just jump on that chew that you just threw out there. So, and you are so right, Regina. I mean, you hear that phrase so much. I think it's overused. You take your power back. You have the power, the power, the power. When we just got through saying some people don't have to worry about the power because, they don't even have to ask for it. They just get it.
Right. They have been they identify as the power. Okay.
Exactly. But we're all powerful if we only understood what it means. So a lot of people don't understand how to connect. The power is in here. So that's the first thing.
Right.
And
So
if you can't connect with that inner piece, that's the missing thing.
So if I look at power as the potential to influence others, before I can influence anybody, I must influence myself.
Come on.
I must have the behaviors and the ways of being and the embodiment that are the principles, right? The principles, the foundations upon which I live my life in order to live out my beliefs and my values. When I tell you, especially as Black people, now I can't speak for all Black people. That would be arrogant and completely. I would ask people to just turn away from me if I had the audacity to think that I'm speaking for all Black people, women, when I say what I say. But I will say this. As a human, as a spiritual being having a human experience, first and foremost, I start there. I understand who I am, this thing called me. And I am an emanation, I am a spark of divinity. I am the mere image of divinity. I am love, life, and beauty expressing itself, as are the 1.6 billion people. That's how I see this thing. So my source of power could never, ever, 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 ever come from a constructed prejudice, discriminatory system that is hell bent on erasing my humanity. So to even think, to think with those thoughts is to set myself up to be part and parcel victim to those constructs. But if I move away from that race consciousness thinking and I drop into that place again with spirit meets bone, and I'm like, wait a minute. In the darkest hour, when my frenemies and enemies were on my heels, and what I mean by that, the racist systems, the untutored social workers, that we could go on and on and on. When that kind of belief system, and when those sorts of belief systems were coming for me as a little girl, and they wanted to put me in solitary confinement, they wanted to shame me, they wanted to erase me out of my common humanity, I held on to something that nobody else's fingerprints could ever be caught on, because it's all mine, and all you're ever going to see are my fingerprints and its fingerprints, and that is the relationship I have with my spirit. So when I was in solitary confinement and the world went dark, let's say, I'm lying on the floor. There are no windows, no door handles. There's no way to get out. And no one knew my history of my mother's boyfriend locking me in a closet. And they didn't realize that was triggering profound trauma. And he would say things and do things. He would like punch me in my stomach, throw me in a closet and tell me I was going to die. And yeah. So when 7 years later, because I was 10 then, 7 years later, 6 years later, I'm being systematically put into a closet, and there's a light at the door. In all of that darkness, in all of that erasure, I spoke into that light. I'm like, this is my mama, this is my daddy, this is everything I need right here, let's go. And I planted my dreams into the light. I would lay on the bottom of the floor crying. One day I'm going to get out and I'm going to tell the world, but that light, the light in me recognized the light at the bottom of that door, and the two came together. What does the scripture say? Let no man put asunder where two come together. So it was me and the light, and that was the two coming together. And we better recognize what's true in the moment. And the beauty is to test who we believe we are, to test who we say we are, not when it's good and the sun is shining and the bills are paid and we driving that Denali. It's trust who we are when we lose 1.8 million, like I did, right? Trust who we are when you lose all those hair salons. And at 40, I had to think, oh my God, literally, oh my God, what now? And to go back to school and get a PhD equivalent, to be willing to go back to that solitary confinement and go back and speak into the light. That's where I get my permission. I get my permission from that place where spirit meets bone, because I know who I am.
That spirit meets bone. I love that phrase. I came across something yesterday that totally speaks to what you just said. And I was reading something and it said, a car doesn't know it's a car. Only the manufacturer, the creator of that car knows why it was built to do whatever it's supposed to do. And that was so powerful to me, because that's what we are. The creator knows what we were created to do, just like a car doesn't know it's a car. We are created and we don't know why we're here. We have to go back to our creator. And if we don't, that bone on spirit, that phrase, I absolutely love that. If we don't use that and go back to that place that created us and connect with that place that created us, we will never get our permission.
Baby, listen, let's go. Let's snatch some edges. Let's get all blackety black and get some black excellence going on up in here.
Come on.
Look, I'm not here to look beautiful, although I'm not mad at the fact that I do, okay?
You do.
Right? I'm not here to show up and show out on Instagram solely for the purpose of showing up and showing out. And all the stages that I've shown up and showed out, none of it was about Regina Louise. I could tell this story, but in the story that I tell, if anybody's watching, if they're watching with spiritual eyes, and if they're watching with spiritual ears, and if they are opening and their spirit is quickening, when they see what they see, when their heart breaks open and they're crying, I cannot tell you the tens of thousands of responses that I have via email, online. This broke me open. No, that isn't me. So thank you. What that is I understood the assignment, and I understand it every day even better. I have willed myself to live my life so that the works of the Spirit are evident in who I am.
I think when we realize one of the things that could help people, it's not about you, and this didn't happen to break you down. It happened to build you up so that you could find what your purpose is, your calling. There's a reason you're here. So if you allow all these, you didn't allow any of that trauma and drama to break you down. It hurt. Absolutely it did. Oof. But you still rose up and you were still able to find.
Well, that's where, see that rose up, that's where the spirit, so, we're spirit and flesh, but that was as I said, I believe I'm a spiritual being, have a human experience. That
We all
rising
are.
up, right?
We all
That
are.
that Easter that you're talking
Yes.
about, that
Yes.
resurrection that you're
Yes.
talking about, that rise up that you're talking about, that resilience that you're talking about, that's spirit. So, girl,
Yes.
I got a twin. Okay, I got a twin. There were no single births, baby. It was me and spirit. We're twinning this thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how I understand it. So, you know, there are things, of course, one thing about desire and one thing about manifestation is the more we desire, the more we manifest, the more we want. We're kind of built that way. I mean, look at the nature. We have billions of varieties of insects, animals, reptiles, people. So clearly, this thing called spirit wants to replicate itself, wants to express itself through music. What we're doing right now, two spirits recognizing the truth when we're hearing it, right? That's what we're here to do. That's what I'm here to do. I don't know what anybody else is here to do, but I think if it's good enough for me, I suspect it could be good enough for someone else. So
I think anyone watching this is getting everything you're saying.
Well, so a lot, like I work a lot with people who are, as I am, working with what does it mean to be codependent? What does it mean to live from these introjections? What does it mean to project onto people? And I am always suspicious that when I project my own unexamined beliefs onto other people, I get suspect of myself and say, slow it down. Where am I going into my shadow and rejecting a part of me that I may not have the courage or the capacity or the love right now to integrate into myself and be here for it, and allow that which I am disowning about me and projecting it onto somebody else, allow that to metabolize. So, whether that, oh, I have so much to say. I have to watch. I'm choosing to be, I'm going to slow down.
Well, you're such a powerful vessel with so much knowledge and so much life experience, and that's why you wrote the book.
Right.
Let's talk about a few of the principles in the book. Now, you talk about some kick-ass strategies.
Okay.
Just give us one.
Oh, you're going to have to make me go. Okay. I love all of my strategies, but one of the strategies that I find that I go to, I want to show them the cover. One of the strategies that I'm going to talk about right now is that making the pact. And that is PACT, presence, acceptance, courage, and trust. Right? To make a pact with oneself. When I was 12, I was 11 rather, I made a pact with my spirit that should the people I live with beat me one more time, that would be my sign to go. I'm 11 years old. So if we go to pact, what does that mean? How did that come about? There is a song. I think there are many ways to learn, and I'm going to sort of unpack pact and how I understood it. I'm a young girl, so I'm still growing intellectually. But I remember, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That just blew my mind. And I said, I believe. So we got that out of the way. And then I remember a song that stayed in me. It sung me as much as I sung it. It probably sung me more. And it's called Oh Holy Night. Oh. And in Oh Holy Night, there's a place where it said, low lay the world in sin and ne'er pining till he appeared, and the soul felt It's a word. Boom. Right there.
Regina,
Right
really?
there. The
Really, Regina,
soul.
you
I got
just gave
COVID.
us that little piece. You just gave
I
us
can't
that little
even.
piece of gift right there with that beautiful
Girl,
songstress.
I can't even hear. I have no taste and I cannot hear if I'm on key, but it don't matter because I know I'm on key with this spirit. So when the
Yeah.
soul felt its worth, girl, boom. This is about feeling our worth individually, collectively, humanly. So the pact that I made that day to keep it, to come into the presence of, to know that there's something bigger, deeper, wider than me. And I need to say, should these people beat me one more time, to be that present. And then to accept the assignment, the consequences. When that green water hose, that cut off water hose came raining down on my flesh. So we have that. So we have to be present enough to connect to this invisible sense, a felt sense, and then to accept the fact that if this woman is going to hit me again, I got to go. And then to have the courage, right? To care enough, right? And then the trust, to care enough to trust, to make that pact. And I see making a pact as an elegant choice. It's an elegant choice where the consequences were ones that I had to live. And so I love
Regina, and I'm sorry for interrupting you because you just said something that was so powerful, and you're so powerful. I want you to talk about choice because it is so critical. It's so important, and it can make all the difference in the world of whether we connect with our inner spirit or whether we don't, whether we stay in pity city or whether we get out. Whatever our life ends up, it all comes down to choice. Do we choose to connect with the spirit side of us? Do we choose to walk through the ring of fire? Talk about that, please.
Right. It's such an individual journey, choices. I suspect that choice is based upon belief and value. And what we value is based upon what we believe and we accept as truth. And then the principle of that is how the rules we decide upon, the rules we commit to, that uphold our values and our beliefs. So it's a complex set of ideas that work circuitously. So in terms of choice, some people don't feel they have one.
Yes, they have given that to others.
But see, let's slow that down and let's whittle that.
Yes.
So if you don't know who you are, you won't understand what you are. And if you don't know who and the what you are, how will you know that you're giving anything away to anybody?
Right.
So this is fundamental to slowing it down. We get to become cognizant of the message that we're giving our central nervous system. So if I don't know who I am, there is no way that I would have a sense of authorship or ownership to understand that I am a choice and action every day, all day. If I choose to go in on myself, if I choose to believe that my skin is ugly, if I choose to believe my nose is too wide, my hair is we could go on and on and on. So if I choose to value someone else's idea of my identity, then I'm once removed from the truth and power of who I am, because I've given that over. I've abdicated all of that over to someone else. So how do I come back to the place, aside from all of the herstory that I've lived, that has objectified me, that has stripped me of my identity, that has, so there's that perspective over there that, okay, that's a perspective I can step into, mitigated by race consciousness. Or I can say, to hell with that placebo that you're going to give me, wrapped in your own toxicity. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to believe it. And I'm just going to perform this thing called me. It takes a lot of courage to step out on one's own and to be a spiritual initiate, and to take the punches and the blows and the, punches as a 10-year-old girl in the stomach. But you know what? We all have our journeys. We all have our 40 days in the desert where we get to transmute that worldly idea of a prescribed or an ascribed status. I have never bought into that. And even as a young girl, I studied the great Greek philosophers and the modern and postmodern philosophers, because I wanted to understand these people who built this world. What methodology were they using to build it? What was the mental technology? What were the belief system? What were they? And so I looked at that stuff and broke it all down and said, oh, okay, they're just shooting shit. So, okay, let me shoot some shit. Let's go. So I would rather live according to my own mythology, right, than to take and swallow the pill of someone else's, and in the process erase my possibility, my God-given inalienable right to try my best to be the best spiritual being having a human experience. So my choice is to educate myself, to recognize that I've lost everything. My mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters, I've lost every affiliation that would dignify me as a human. But the one thing I refuse to lose, the one thing you will never beat the black off me. I would not let people do that. You will never, ever squelch my spirit. I don't give you that choice. And if I'm not going to give you that choice, I'm going to use my choice to not give you that choice to be who I am. I am the steward of this heart, of this body, of this intellect, of this preciousness. I'm the steward. And when I give this back, when I leave this body, I won't need anybody to say, well done, because I will have lived well done, choicefully.
And, with that, because I'm starting to get emotional. So we're going to, as we wrap up, I'm going to ask you to give your social media tags. Where can people find you? Websites, Instagram, Facebook. Where are you? Because you have blessed me today, and you have blessed so many people with your words, your encouragement, your hope, your gifts, everything. I'll just say, you know who you are, and you know whose you are. And you also know why you're here. And I so appreciate that. So where can we find you?
Well, I like to hang out on Instagram, and I just hired a social media manager. I'm about to tear that thing up and do it beautifully. But My Instagram handle is The Real Regina Louise. So please feel free to follow me. And I like Facebook. I don't quite understand Facebook, but I'm on Facebook. And Lord knows I'm trying to get my TikTok on. All right. So very slow, but my place, LinkedIn, but no, more than LinkedIn until I get it together. The Real Regina Louise on Instagram. That's my place. And it's only going to get better because I'm finally going to stop buying the red bottom shoes and the Balenciaga and the Gucci, and I'm going to invest the money into a social media manager so that they can build me and get me moving in the direction that I am going. One way or the other.
Definitely move. You're moving, baby. I can tell you that right now. Now, the direction you're going, you've got a lot of direction to go.
Yeah.
But you're definitely moving. I can absolutely see that. I can feel that. I have had goosebumps throughout this entire conversation.
All that is, those goosebumps, you know what that is? Spirit recognizing itself.
Oh, I know. Yes.
So we partying up in here. Woo, there it is. Woo.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. That's why I love you so much. Whew. You are just, I just love you, Regina. I do visit your social media because I know where you are, but I just wanted you to give that for the people who don't know. And now tell us, where can they buy your book?
Oh, I go to Amazon. I just love to send people to Amazon. They track it. They let people know it's all good. So for me, Amazon. Excellent. And then my website. Subscribe to my website, and then I'm going to figure out how to send people, hi, how you doing? Bloggy stuff. So my website is www.iamreginalouise.com. www.iamreginalouise.com.
Awesome, incredible. I absolutely just love you. I know I've said that once, but I can't say it enough because I do. And like you said, love recognizes love, and it just emanates from your pores, and I just love that so much about you, and that's why I wanted to have you back when I saw you had a new book. So thank you so much for all of your incredible insights, your brilliance.
All right, sis, much love.
Much love, and thank you to everyone who joined us this evening. We will see you the same time next week with another empowering episode. Good night, everyone.
Bye, Cathy.
Bye, Regina.